The life and sad ending of Harry Morgan. Harry Morgan was born as Harry Bratsburg on April 10th, 1915, in Detroit, Michigan. His father, Henry Bratsburg, a Norwegian immigrant, worked as a mechanic, while his father, Hannah, was a housewife. He grew up with two siblings, Marguerite and Arnold. Morgan was raised in Muskegon, Michigan, and graduated from Muskegon High School in 1933, where he achieved distinction as a statewide debating champion. He originally aspired to be a Doctor of Jurisprudence degree, but began acting while a junior at the University of Chicago in 1935. He began acting on stage under his birth name in 1937, joining the group theater in New York City formed by Harold Clurman, Cheryl Crawford, and Lee Strasberg in 1931. He appeared in the original production of the Clifford Odets play, Golden Boy, followed by a host of successful Broadway roles alongside such other group members as Lee J. Cobb, Elia Kazan, John Garfield, Stanford Meisner, and Carl Malden. Morgan also did summer stock at the Pine Brook Country Club, located in the countryside of Nichols, Connecticut. Morgan made his screen debut, originally using the name Henry Morgan, in the 1942 movie To the Shores of Tripoli. His screen name later became Harry Morgan, and eventually Harry Morgan, to avoid confusion with the popular humorist of the same name. In the same year, Morgan appeared in the movie Orchestra Wives as a young man pushing his way to the front of a ballroom crowd with his date to hear Glenn Miller's band play. A few years later, still credited as Henry Morgan, he was cast in the role of pianist Chummy McGregor in the 1954 biopic The Glenn Miller Story. Morgan hosted the NBC radio series Mystery in the Air, starring Peter Lorre in 1947. On CBS, he played Pete Porter in Pete and Gladys, which ran from 1960 to 1962, with Cara Williams as his wife Gladys. Pete and Gladys was a spin-off of December Bride from 1954 to 1959, starring Spring Byington, a show in which Morgan had a popular recurring role. In 1950, Morgan appeared as an obtrusive, alcohol-addled hotel clerk in the Dragnet radio episode The Big Boys. After Pete and Gladys ended production, Morgan guest starred in the role of Al Everett in the 1962 episode Like My Own Brother on Gene Kelly's ABC drama series Going My Way, loosely based on the 1944 Bing Crosby film of the same name. That same year, he played the mobster Bugs Moran in an episode of ABC's The Untouchables with Robert Stack. In 1963, he was cast as Sheriff Ernie Backwater on Richard Boone's Have Gun Will Travel Western series on CBS, and then worked as a regular cast member in the 1963-64 anthology series The Richard Boone Show. In the 1964-65 season, Morgan co-starred as Seldom Jackson in the 26-week NBC comedy drama Kentucky Jones, starring Dennis Weaver, formerly of Gunsmoke. Success came in 1967, when Morgan is more widely recognized as Officer Bill Gannon, Joe Friday's partner in the revived version of Dragnet from 1967 to 1970. Morgan had also appeared with Dragnet star Jack Webb in 3 film noir movies, Dark City, 1950, Appointment with Danger, 1951, and Pete Kelly's Blues, 1955, and was a regular early member of Jack Webb's stock company of actors on the original Dragnet radio show. Morgan later worked on 2 other shows for Webb, 1971's The DA and the 1972-74 Western series Heck Ramsey. Morgan also appeared in at least 1 episode of Gunsmoke. Morgan appeared in the role of Inspector Richard Queen, uncle of Ellery Queen in the 1971 television film Ellery Queen, Don't Look Behind You. Then, Morgan's first appearance on MASH was in the show's 3rd season, 74-75, when he played the mentally unbalanced Major General Bartford Hamilton Steele in The General Flipped at Dawn, which first aired on September 10th, 1974. The following season, Morgan joined the cast of MASH as Colonel Sherman T. Potter, A fan of the sitcom, Morgan replaced McLean Stevenson, who left the show at the end of the previous season. Unlike Stevenson's character, Henry Blake, Potter was a career Army officer who was a firm yet good-humored, caring father figure to those under his command. In 1980, Morgan won an Emmy Award for his performance on MASH. At the end of the series, Morgan reprised the Potter role in the short-lived spin-off series After MASH. Morgan also appeared in several Disney movies throughout the decade, including The Barefoot Executive, Snowball Express, Charlie and the Angel, The Apple Dumpling Gang, The Cat from Outer Space opposite McLean Stevenson, and The Apple Dumpling Gang Rides Again. In 1986, he co-starred with Hal Linden in Black's Magic, a show about a magician who doubled as a detective solving unusual crimes. One season was made. Morgan's character, Leonard Black, was a semi-retired con artist. In 1987, Morgan reprised his Bill Gannon character, now a captain, for a supporting role in another film version of Dragnet, a parody and homage to the original series written by and starring Dan Aykroyd and co-starring Tom Hanks and Christopher Plummer. In 1987 and 1988, Morgan starred in the one-season situation comedy series You Can't Take It With You as family patriarch Martin Vanderhoff. In the 1990s, Morgan starred alongside Walter Matthau in a series of television movies for CBS as Stoddard Bell, a judge who was an acquaintance, nemesis, partner of Matthau's Harmon Cobb, an attorney. In 2006, Morgan was inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. In his personal life, Morgan's first marriage was to Eileen Detchen from 1940 until her death in 1985. Morgan had 4 sons with his first wife, Christopher, Charles, Paul, and Daniel. He then married Barbara Bushman Quinn on September 17, 1986. In July 1996, Morgan was charged with domestic violence for beating his 70-year-old wife. The charges were dropped after he attended a 6-month anger management and domestic violence counseling program. The marriage lasted until his death. Morgan died in his sleep at 3 a.m. local time in Los Angeles on December 7, 2011, at the age of 96. A few days prior to his death, he had undergone pneumonia treatment. His body was cremated, and his remains were given to his family.